Hey, it's Jonathan Mead, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I made the transition from working at a job that I absolutely despised, working on someone else's terms, to working full-time for myself, waking up excited about what I get to do. And I'm not just going to be sharing with you the successes and what worked for me, but I'm also going to be sharing with you the kind of raw, honest, embarrassing, kind of naive mistakes that I made along the way. So I hope you'll have fun. I hope you'll learn something from this video, and I hope it'll help you reclaim your own freedom. So this is the story of how I replaced my day job income, became my own boss, and the ugly, embarrassing mistakes I made along the way. I hope you are entertained. I hope you get a kick out of this at my expense. Check this out. This is one of my first websites. It's pretty horrific, right? I mean, what's going on with this Firefly? There's like a name tag. I don't even know what that means. There's a friggin' I don't know, is that a arcade ticket? Something ridiculous. And there's just a lot of stuff going on, right? You can't even tell what is happening here, why you're here. This is one of my first websites though, and I owned it at the time, and I worked it, but I've come a long way since then. Check this out. This is my first month of income working for myself. I made a total of $7.47. That was pretty great, right? I mean, what I could buy like a couple of cups of coffee. I'm sure my wife would have been really happy if that was my total income for the month. And that was in a month's period of time. So yeah, not exactly enough to make a living off of, right? And you probably were, really impressed by that, but check this out. This was the total number of subscribers that I got to my blog in the first 70 days of work. I had 86 subscribers. That's really impressive, right? Not really, but I want to share that ugly stuff with you, that kind of like not very impressive stuff with you, because everyone gives you the glamorous details, right? Everyone wants to make themselves look like it was easy for them, when we're trained to make ourselves look good, right? We only post the flattering pictures on Facebook, we only post the clever ideas on Twitter, and we only show kind of our best selves, and we don't often see that, kind of ugly, messy side. And reality is much messier than that, right? Overnight success stories aren't usually as pretty as the media or magazines make them out to be. And the truth is, the path to working for yourself, as you'll see it, as it was for me, is often lonely, hard, and brutally trying. But the good news is that it's worth it, and if you're willing to do whatever it takes, you can do this. And you know what? There's going to be days where you feel like you're giving up, or you feel like you want to give up, but if you stick with it, if you are willing to fail, then you can do this, and you'll see, because I was willing to fail, that's why I was able to succeed in the end. So most people's stories, those glamorous stories look like this. Holy crap, I just launched, XYZ product and it's sold out in 24 minutes. I can't believe it. Thank you everyone for all your support and encouragement. I couldn't have done it without you. And this story makes people feel inferior, right? It makes people feel like it's easy to quit your job and become an entrepreneur. And the reality is that this road is not for everyone, and some people are more suited to work for someone else because it's not always that glamorous. People, because of these stories, they think that, I can just throw up a blog and I'm going to immediately start, attracting a bunch of subscribers, and it's just going to work like magic. And that's kind of like what I naively thought in the beginning too. But reality is much more like this, right? After 2 years of totally screwing up everything possible, almost getting divorced, and completely getting wrong what my customers wanted 17 times, I finally figured it out. And at least I have a better idea than I have in the past, and people are actually responding to me these days. And all the unpaid time I worked putting sweat equity into this amounts to me getting paid 3 times less than a Taiwanese sweatshop worker, but it was absolutely worth it, right? If you heard stories like this, you probably wouldn't be as, allured into this kind of jet set lifestyle that people, make seem is so easy. And, all you have to do is just kind of throw up, a bunch of blog posts, and you're just gonna magically start attracting people. Like, it's the whole build it and they will come myth. So here's what my personal evolution looked like. Right? Months 1 through 3 made a total of about $0. Had no idea what I was doing or what a business plan even was. Probably not a good idea, right? Months 3 through 6 made a total of about $100. I started to realize that monetizing is not a sound business strategy. Months 6 through 9 made about $2,000. I started doing affiliate marketing and realized that this might actually be possible, but I was still making about $3 an hour, which is not good. It's not enough to pay the bills. And then months 9 through 12 made about $10,000 and realized, holy crap, I can actually do this. And I launched my own product, co-created it with my audience, and started to really unlock the power of partnerships. And now I have a completely different business model and make about $15,000 per month, but I still leverage the power of co-creation and partnerships. So trust me, there were a lot more raw, embarrassing, kind of pitiful mistakes that I made along the way, but those are just a few of the highlights. Now I want to share with you some of the stuff that actually worked for me and how you can apply it to your own situation. The two that were the most pivotal for me were co-creation and partnerships. And I want to show you how I leverage these two things to build my own business, doing what I'm passionate about, and show you how you can use them as well. In the beginning, when I told my wife about my plans to become a professional blogger, she told me I was crazy and that it would take 5+ years if I was lucky. So I set out to prove her wrong and conventional wisdom wrong, right? I knew that while I didn't know how I was going to do it, I had a vision and I was willing to do whatever it took. But somewhere along the way, even with that drive, I almost gave up. I was just getting so frustrated, trying so many things and spending so much time doing all these things the gurus and the marketers and the A-listers said, and none of it was working. None of it was paying off. It was just too much work for too little return. Then something happened, right? I went from this 86 subscribers in about 4 months, which is about 20 subscribers a month, to this 4,502 subscribers, which was about 500 subscribers a month. So something happened. I made a huge breakthrough. And what finally made the difference for me after months of treading water was partnerships. And it was all because of a break I received by becoming a regular contributor for Zen Habits. And if you're not familiar with Zen Habits, it's one of the most popular blogs online. It has about 300,000 readers right now. So by partnering with Leo, I was able to take my blog from relative obscurity to mainstream exposure, which was pretty awesome back then. And guest posting is just one form of partnerships, but it's incredibly powerful, right? You're leveraging someone else's audience to build your own. So these are just a few of my posts on Zen Habits. If you search Zen Habits, Jonathan Mead in Google, you'll be able to see some of them. And it's actually pretty embarrassing because some of these are pretty old and my writing has evolved so much since then. And it's kind of horrific for me to look at. So how did I land the gig? Well, it would be cool if I could tell you that I deliberately sought after and strategically positioned myself for the writing position with Zen Habits, and that would be a really nice story. That would sound picture perfect. But remember, reality is always much messier than that. And in my case, it happened completely by luck. Well, almost by luck, right? But because I was always trying to help others and leverage my own talents to partners with others, it came about organically. And I believe that if it didn't happen this way, it would have happened eventually, whether it was Zen habits or somewhere else. So, partnerships are kind of like a shortcut to success, and they're almost like cheating. You almost get a cut to the front of the line, and get when you get someone with an established audience and authority and influence to recommend you to their people, you don't have to do all that hard work of trying to build a relationship with them over, months and months and years, because that person already has a relationship and they recommend you to them. They trust you implicitly because they trust that person they already have built a relationship with. So in the process, you get instant credibility and you build a following by leveraging other people's work. So there's a saying in the real estate world, use other people's money. Well, on the internet, it's use other people's blogs, right? Use other people's blogs to build an audience. So partnerships are really a messy business, and they almost always happen organically. In other words, there's no kind of system or formula of like the 7 steps you can follow to explode your partnerships overnight. It doesn't really work like that. However, it doesn't happen on accident. It involves constantly seeking out and seizing opportunities and introducing yourself to others and being willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, right? You have to be willing to put yourself out there and make connections and, take the risk. Take the risk of, potentially being rejected. That's what it all really comes down to, is this fear of rejection that we have. And if you're willing to get over that and not care if you get rejected, you can literally become more successful than 90% of people just from getting over that fear of rejection. Because when you're willing to ask for what you want, you're much more likely to get it. I think there's a quote by Wayne Gretzky that says, "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." And it's absolutely true. So here's what helped me form partnerships. There's one thing that I used to do back in the day that I still do to this day because it's so powerful, and it's just really, when it comes down to it, like the right thing to do anyway. So it's simple. Find the thing that you're the best at and try to help others with it that are weaker at that thing. So for me, this is copywriting and tech-related stuff. And I can help others easily solve tech challenges that are frustrating them. And I can also write copy in my sleep. So these are 2 things that I'm really good at, that I can see other people, whether they're, peers or influencers or other, leaders in my niche. If I'm seeing someone struggle with something like that, I can help them out with it and build goodwill and build camaraderie and start to build rapport and a relationship with those people. So that's what it comes down to. You need to find the thing that you're the best at, that you can start helping and serving other people with. And that's how you really start to build partnerships quickly. So in the beginning, like I said, I knew next to nothing about what a business model was, right? I thought I could just get a bunch of readers to a blog and money would show up somehow. It's that monetization myth, right? Just get a bunch of users or a bunch of traffic, a bunch of readers, a bunch of subscribers, and money will figure itself out somewhere along the way. And unfortunately, that doesn't work too well in reality, right? We hear all those stories about these big startups where this works, but that's a very small percentage of the experience that most people have. And apparently there's this little thing called a business model that you need to focus on. So like I said, I wasn't very strategic when I started out. And for me, it was a process of experimenting, trying stuff, and taking massive action and eliminating what didn't work. And because of that, I tried a lot of stuff that didn't work, right? I went through a huge process of elimination and culling. And after trying to sell other people's stuff as an affiliate, I realized I'd make much more money selling my own products. I realized those affiliates and advertisers were getting the lion's share of the profits. So here's what I went from. I went from this in 12 weeks, which was about $7. Pretty impressive, right? Um, to this, which is about $3,600 in about 6 weeks. So, the first is something you buy a couple cups of coffee with. The second is something you might actually be able to live on. And it was pretty cool. So there's two things that made a huge difference for me. Number one was selling my own products. And number two was co-creating my ebook with my audience. And this is my first ever product. It was called Reclaim Your Dreams, and it actually still sells pretty well to this day. So nowadays, co-creation is touted as kind of a marketing tactic. But in those days when I was getting started, I just did it because it felt natural and like the right thing to do. It wasn't a tactic, it was just natural. It was just something that felt like, a human being would do. So here's how I did it. Here's how I co-created my first product with my audience. Here's the process that I went through. First, I involved my audience in identifying the core need, and I used a simple question just in a blog post. That was it. I made them feel like part of the process. I continually updated my readers throughout the writing and asked for input, so I made them feel like they were taking this journey with me. I also gave them early access and special benefits for being early buyers, right? I gave everyone 50% off on my newsletter list and group coaching sessions to those early purchasers. I also got them invested in the story of how the idea came to be, right? So I shared the journey to reclaiming my dreams, and I shared that origin story. Everyone is really fascinated and really just intrigued with that origin story. How did that idea come about? How did it grow into something bigger? I also did a series of posts on following your dreams leading up to the launch. So I got people excited throughout this series and throughout this plot that was kind of unfolding along the way. I also adjusted course based on the feedback they gave me. So I didn't just have a plan and execute it. I actually listened to their feedback and used that to help shape my efforts and adjust and really give people exactly what they wanted. So here's the question when I started with Reclaim Your Dreams that I asked my audience. I asked them, what's the biggest obstacle for you in making your dreams a reality? And I received over 80 responses to this simple question. And after that, I spent a few hours just reading over those responses and meditating on them, looking for commonalities and trends. And this really helped me when I was writing this book. And I used those responses to help shape the book and to write the copy as well for the sales page. And many of those responses were, almost word for word some of the copy on the sales page, because they were describing to me their problem better than I could have ever imagined. And if I could use some of that, I knew I was going to relate to them. I knew I was going to come across as genuine. So what is co-creation not? Co-creation is not your audience just giving you the product vision or the vision for the offer. You have to create that. But they can help you adjust the course and customize it, right? So think of it like you're a tour guide who decides to veer off in another direction when your group sees something they're really interested in exploring. That's kind of what it's like. You're kind of creating this journey together. So here was my evolution working for myself. This is how the kind of story unfolded for me. In months 1 through 6, I experimented a lot with things like AdSense and selling ads privately. I used StumbleUpon and Dig to drive traffic. I also rebranded my site during this time. In months 6 through 12, I tested affiliate marketing. I launched my own product. I used Twitter, Facebook, and guest posts to drive traffic. So I started to evolve a little bit more. I started to realize what a business model was. In year 2, I quit my job, started one-on-one coaching, so I started diversifying my products, and I launched my second product as well. I also experimented with using free manifestos to drive traffic, which ended up working really well at the time. In year 3, I was still experimenting, and I launched multiple products using co-creation and partnerships. So I was still using the power of co-creation and partnerships. In year 4, I did a video-based product launch. I created the first ever live event that I ever did. I rebranded my site and hired more staff. So still evolving, trying new things. And now I'm still constantly experimenting and hustling. And I wanted to show this evolution to you so you can see, if you want to quit your job, if you want to make this work, all you need to do is try different things and see what works. Keep the stuff that works and throw away the stuff that doesn't work. And that's how you make it as an entrepreneur. It isn't that glamorous. It isn't that sexy of a story. It's not as exciting as some of those stories you might read, but this is the path to making it happen. So finally, I have a small request for you. If you got some amount of value, any kind of value out of this video, please donate a tweet or a Facebook share and help spread this message, help spread this idea that you can do what you want to do if you're willing to fail a lot, if you're willing to try different things and willing to experiment along the way. I believe that this is possible for anyone. So I hope by now you've been able to learn from some of my embarrassing mistakes and some of the things that worked well for me on my own path to working for myself. I also hope that you've been able to see that while the road to freedom might not be as glamorous as other people make it out to be, that it might actually be much closer than you have previously believed. And there's one other thing that I didn't share with you that's beyond the scope of the short amount of time that we have together today. And that's doing one high leveraged action every single day over the course of a year that moves you closer and closer to reclaiming your freedom. And that's why I created the Job Escape Kit. And I'm going to be sharing with you more about that soon. But in the meantime, I want to ask you one question. What are you most excited about when you start working on your own terms and say goodbye to dead-end work for good? Please share a comment down below. Look forward to sharing your enthusiasm and your energy.